Hi, my name is Josh Withers. I'm a marriage celebrant. This is the first time I've ever done a Google Hangout, so I'm kind of learning as you're learning. But I want to talk really passionately about wedding vows soon, so we'll do that in a minute. I know a couple of more people are joining us, but if someone could join that chat and just click the chat room bit and say, yeah, Josh, we can toots hear you. Toots me goats. Awesome sauce. I have got confirmation that people can hear me. Cool. Hey, guys. Shout out to Ashley from Silk Photography and Kylie from Just for Love for saying, yeah, we can totally hear you. Thank you for answering my beck and call. So I'm sure that everyone knows what's happening here, but I'd just like to introduce it. My name is Josh Withers. I'm a marriage celebrant, and I think that wedding vows are the best part of the wedding. They're the pinnacle of the wedding. They're the ultimate number one numero uno bit. That everything else on the wedding day is leading up to the vows or celebrating how good the vows were, which is a lot of pressure. So please let me take the pressure off, because I don't want it to be I don't want it to be a moment of yuckiness for you. So your wedding vows don't have to be a performance. I'm going to get to all that real soon. I know a few more people are joining us, so I'm just going to wait for the big hurrah then, because I've got a thing prepared and I want to chat to you about it. But in the meantime, please know you can join the chat room. You can chat things. There's a Q&A section as well. If you've got questions, please post them in the Q&A. Click the little Q&A button. You can ask questions and I'll answer them. And that's the best way to ask a question, through there. Because sorry, Annika just said, hey, mate, got no sound here. And yeah, I have answered it, apparently. Look, have I answered it? I think I've answered it. Cool. Excellent. Cool. So yeah, thank you, Annika, for using the question and answer. This is my first time using Google Hangouts, so I'm really excited because I love nerdy things like that. I'm surprised it's taken me this long to get to Google Hangouts. But now I'm here. I want to do more of it. And so this is a number one. I'm really thankful to my friends at White Magazine, Renee, Carla, and everyone else there for just kind of hosting this and making it happen. And I'm all set up in my little office here with my wife Britt and I working here. She works with our Proper Weddings, and I'm Josh Withers, marriage celebrant, and we're really passionate about weddings being amazing. So without any further ado, thank you to Britt, my wife, for messaging me saying apparently no one can hear me. It would be great if you said you could hear me, because I believe people can hear me now. And now this is the most awkward beginning to a Google Hangout ever. So look, let me begin. Hi, my name is Josh Withers, and Britt, please stop messaging me. I am really passionate about wedding vows being really good, and I would love to help you tonight make amazing wedding vows. A wedding day is so many things to so many people. If you talk to a photographer, or if you talk to a stylist, or if you talk to a venue or a caterer, they each have their own passions and their own biases, and they're all really good because there's some really amazing, talented people doing that. But I firmly believe that my role in the wedding ceremony, it really is the most important thing. That without that ceremony just being amazing, without that. And not just the ceremony, because the ceremony is just the base layer to what I'm getting to. Without the vows being meaningful and purposeful, that everything else is just a show. It's just a really cool party. And that's cool. Parties are cool. Big fan of parties. But the vows are the very pinnacle of what it is to have a wedding day. That if you were to have nothing else, just those vows, that's a wedding. You see, even in the legal context in Australia, to get married in Australia, you need to have a celebrant. Hi. You need to have two people that are in love. Currently, it's a man and a woman, and they have to be consenting and willing to marriage. They have to be 18 or over, not already married and not related. You need to have two witnesses that are 18 or over watching it, just confirming that it's happening. You can have other people, but with those people set, and of course 1 month's notice given, because there's a form required called the notice of intended marriage. With those things together, you can have a wedding ceremony. Now, what makes up a wedding ceremony, despite Hollywood and despite what any celebrant has ever told you, there's only two things that comprise a legal marriage ceremony. There's a celebrant telling you what marriage is. That's called a monotum, which is a Latin word for warning. It's where a celebrant is saying, yo, this is marriage. Did you know this was marriage? And as that celebrant tells you what marriage is, you're like, oh, wow, I did not know that was marriage. I thought marriage was chocolate. So So the monotum is when the celebrant has to tell you, like, yo, this is marriage. And the monotum right now in Australia is marriage in Australia is the union between a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others, entered into voluntarily for life. Uh, which is actually really empowering, because you notice in there it doesn't say marriage is about children, or marriage is about getting a mortgage, or marriage is about getting sharing a car and having one person drop the other person off to work. And marriage isn't about sharing a bed, and marriage isn't about a mortgage, and marriage isn't about two families coming together. Marriage is quite literally the definition, according to the Marriage Act of 1961, a union between two people entered into voluntarily for life. So everything the celebrant says leading up to the vows it's kind of an introduction to that. It's like if you go to the Logies or the Emmys or the Oscars or where the Academy Awards, whatever it might be, that there's a guy hosting the night. That's the celebrant or girl, and they're kind of setting the stage. They're warming the crowd up. They're letting everybody know what's going to happen, what's coming up. They're setting the stage. They're literally the MC to the ceremony, and they're taking everyone to this point where, like, all right, now let's exchange vows. Like, this is the headline act, and wedding vows, that part where you make a vow to the person opposite you in a legal context, that's literally the point that you begin your married life. When a celebrant warns you what marriage is, and warns is such a negative word, when a celebrant informs you what marriage is, I say warns because it's literally taken from the Latin word monotum, which is a warning, that once you know what marriage is, that at that point, you would say, yep, let's do this. And from a legal point of view, those vows must include you saying, I, full name, take you, full name, as my lawfully wedded husband and or wife in front of these witnesses. And the Marriage Act of 1961 says all words to this effect, which means you've just got to, in your vows, identify yourself, identify the other person, identify those witnesses, and take them as your husband or your wife. Any other vow you make on the day, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. Your vows don't have to. Actually, I did a list and I thought I'd open it up. That there's so many traditional things in wedding vows that people think vows have to be this certain thing. I don't know. The number one thing people say to me is like, I don't want to obey. Like, that is so good because you don't have to obey anyone. It's nice to obey. Like, it's good to be a good kid, but I'm not here to talk to you about how good or bad you are. So your vows don't have to include anything like, from this day forward, to having to hold goodness and badness, and good times and bad times, and sickness and health. Like, they're all awesome things, but they don't have to have these things. There's no legal requirement for them. You don't have to say till death do us part, to love, cherish, and obey, richer for poorer, better for worse, having to hold. I don't even know what having to hold means. Like, it sounds lovely. It sounds like something from a beautiful book, but your vows should mean something to you. They should have some kind of context. That when you say them, they should mean something, because, as I was saying, that's a legal point of marriage. When you exchange your vow, that's when you become a husband or wife. And if the worst was to happen, that in the middle of the marriage ceremony, and the celebrant has warned you about what marriage is, and you've exchanged vows, if the earth was to open up and swallow you up because of same-sex marriage or whatever terrible thing might be happening, that at that point you would die a married person. Because that point of exchanging a vow is when you become a married person. A celebrant saying, "And I pronounce you husband and wife," doesn't actually have any legal power. You could interpret the Marriage Act in a few different ways, and a celebrant's not to imply that someone is married when they're not. So you could say, well, the opposite of that is saying that they are implying they're married, and they are. But the point of marriage is where you actually take your vow and you say, "I take you as my husband. I take you as my wife." That's marriage. Everything else that happens after that is awesome and fun, but not legally required. And look, unless you find some really weird wedding tradition that needs you to have location photos for 4 hours, then you don't have to do it. But everyone's welcome to celebrate in their own way, which is the great thing about life today, is you can choose your own way to celebrate. So if your way of celebrating an awesome event is getting really hot photos, and look, I love hot photos. I want to be in hot photos. I want to be hot. I want to be in hot photos. So love a good photo. Or if your way of celebrating is to have a photo booth, or if your way of celebrating is just to get naked and ride cowboy boots on backs of pigs, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not going to dictate to you how to celebrate. But that point where you exchange vows, that's the pinnacle of the day. And everything that happens after that, the food, the drinks, the whatever, is just celebrating how good that moment was where you stopped being husband and wife and you started being husband and wife. Sorry, the moment where you were not husband and wife and you started becoming husband and wife. That celebration of, look, hey, these guys hate each other the least from all the other people. That's the awesome thing, that vow exchange. Another technical note, so many people think that exchanging vows is when you say I do. In a civil marriage point of view in Australia, and I can't in other countries, and I can't comment on religious ceremonies, but 75%, or give or take, marriage ceremonies in Australia are civil. That the word I do, they're lovely, but they don't mean anything. So you don't have to say I do. And if you are going to say I do to something meaningful. But that doesn't count as your legal vows. If you were to say I do, that would be in addition to you making a vow with your mouth saying that I, full name, take your full name as my lawfully wedded husband or wife. So at that stage set, you've actually got a really great opportunity to create some vows that really matter. I thought I'd begin by just reading you the vows that I wrote for Britt on our wedding day. It's kind of cute because I heard someone exchanging their own wedding recently, and it was a bit weird. Lovely, honouring. But these are the vows that I wrote for Britt, and it took me months, and I finally got them finished the night before. And this is the vow, this is the commitment that I made to Britt. I said, Brittany Snow, you will never know just how beautiful you are to me, but I promise to spend the rest of my life telling you. You're the best thing that has ever happened to me, and for that, I'm eternally thankful. I promise to always protect you, even if it annoys you, because it really annoys her. She's an independent, powerful woman. And I promise to encourage you so we can conquer the world together. I promise to uphold you because you're worth it. And I promise to excite you beyond your wildest dreams. And together, we'll write a beautiful story. I promise to always be grateful for you, for your love for me. I promise to value you and who you are and to provide for you. And always pay for our meals. I'll never split the bill ever again. Throwback to our falling in love story. If you want to know that, you can ask her. I promise to never lead you to anger unless it's about me whistling or wearing clothes that are really daggy. And I promise to try not to frustrate you. I promise to bring you peace and to bring peace into our home and to always make you smile and laugh. I promise to love you unconditionally, to pray for you always, and to thank God for you every morning, because you and I are better together. From there, I walked into exchanging rings, and we said some legal vows afterwards. That I said, I, Josh, will give you this ring as a promise and symbol of my heart and faithfulness, my love and my commitment to you. When I'm angry, I'll seek to be kind. When we speak, I'll be truthful, and each day of my life, I'll be faithful to you. Those are the vows that Britt and I exchanged on our wedding day. And I want to start talking about your vows, but hopefully as we talk about your vows, you'll start seeing some things in our vows and maybe get a bit of a throwback. So before I do that, let me just check in and see if there's any questions or any questions. So thank you for everyone posting some questions. I'll get to them real soon. And there's a chat room that apparently, all right, cool. We've got 19 people viewing. Hello. So your wedding vows. Your wedding vows need to serve a purpose. If you were just going to get up and ramble on some random words, they'll be purposeless. Now, those words that you exchange, they don't have to be some kind of like, here is this epic speech I've concocted and this will go down in history as the world's best speech. They're the two extremes you want to stay away from. You don't want to stay away from some meaningless drivel that doesn't mean anything to you, and you want to stay away from trying to be the most amazing performance artist ever in the whole world, because both of those will probably be really disappointing for you and everyone else involved. So what you want to do is find a middle place where you're being true and real and honest and faithful to who you are. You're being faithful to your beliefs, you're being faithful to your philosophies, being faithful to your relationship and to the person that you're marrying. With those things intact, I think you can create some really awesome vows. I wanted to do a few technical notes around exchanging your vows before we actually talk about the words in them, because this helps you construct them. Now, you don't have to say repeat after me, or you don't have to repeat after me. So as a celebrant, I don't have to say repeat after me. You don't have to repeat after me. If they're on a piece of paper, whether it's something that I've printed for you, whether it's something that you've just written on a napkin or whatever it is, you can just read them from yourself. Or if you want to be a super person, a superhero, then you can memorize them. That's cool. But they don't have to be repeated after you. In fact, there's only a few cases in my life where I think I would have rather done a repeat after me. That's if, and please, no judgment on this, but I've married people that hadn't told me that they were illiterate, or that they had trouble reading, they had bad eyesight. And in those cases, we can totally say repeat after me, because that's okay. But normally, if you're comfortable reading off a piece of paper to the person that you love, then it's a really good chance for you to read off a piece of paper. Remember, you're not reading your vows to a crowd. They're witnessing it, but you're not reading them to them, and they're not for them. Your wedding vows aren't for your crowd. They're not for your mum and dad. They're not for the girlfriend that's going to be sobbing. It's for your husband or wife. That's who you're writing your vows for. So it's okay to read them off a piece of paper. It's okay to say repeat after me. It's okay to memorize them. If you memorize them, you're a superhuman. So that's cool. A few other technical notes. Your wedding vows have to happen after you're told what marriage is and before you sign any paperwork. Because that's the point of marriage. Signing paperwork is saying, yeah, we got married a few seconds before. We're just registering it now. We're just going to sign some paperwork. And you can't make a vow without knowing what you're making a vow about. So you have to be told what marriage is. And you do have to do it in front of two people. Witnesses, 18 plus, human. They have to know who you are. So they're the kind of technical limitations around it. Some people ask me if they have to say them into the microphone. You don't have to. Like they have to be witnessed. So people have to witness the fact that you're exchanging vows, and it's good if they can hear that. And plus, I'll have a PA, so hopefully, Celebrant will have a PA system there so they can hear it. But don't be afraid that people are going to listen to your vows. Like, you've got your favorite humans here. Like, if there's anyone that you're embarrassed talking in front of, they probably shouldn't be invited anyway. You should uninvite them, because you don't have to fill a room with a couple hundred people. A wedding is an intimate experience. It's an intimate occasion where people are getting involved in this really amazing moment where you're saying, look, I hate you the least out of all the other people. I've scoured the world. I hate you the least. So with that, you shouldn't have that uncle you're embarrassed of talking in front of, or whatever it might be. They shouldn't be there. So you shouldn't be embarrassed about talking in front of this crowd, because they're your favorite humans. So you don't have to talk in the microphone. It's good if you do, because that means if you've got a videographer videoing it, which is something I really recommend, I'll tell you why in a second, that means they can record out of the PA system and get a beautiful recording of it, and they can put that in your video. And because as I was saying, the vows that's the point of ceremony. Like, I'd love it if they include my voice in the video, but it doesn't matter what I say. I'm just saying stuff that leads into the vows. And the reason I think it's so important to get a videographer is because, yes, you remember this awesome day on that day. That's cool. But if you can get a videographer that creates videos that you kind of find a harmony in, okay, if you've gone to the website, you're like, yeah, I get these videos. Wouldn't it be awesome to have one of those for you, and to even like put the extra money across and actually make something of it, so that you can not relive that memory, because you don't want to relive it, but just pay homage and honor that special moment where you stopped being friends and you started being husband and wife. And a year later, 10 years later, you can replay that little video, and it would be special, be amazing. So I'm a big fan of videographers. There's so many out there, and they all make different kinds. I know I found a few people telling me, look, I don't want to watch a 2-hour wedding video. I'm like, I don't want to watch a 2-hour wedding video. If you do, there's videographers that'll do that for you. You might rather like a 3-minute, maybe a 15-minute or something like that. And so talk to your videographers. Find some. There's amazing ones. And find someone that you get on board with their product, and keep on searching. And that's the same for all the people involved: celebrant, video, photographer, venue, all of them. Find people that you're really into. So back to your vows. I go off on a tangent there because the vows get recorded, and you want your vows to be great in your wedding video. Something personal, not something you just Googled. And that's the final piece I wanted to talk about technically, is Stay away from Google in this process. Google is not your best friend when it comes to wedding vows, because Google has everyone else's vows, hasn't got your vows. And your vows are going to be one in a million vows that are so unique and so powerful and so personal. So stay away from Google. Now, we've got a blank page because we've stopped Googling. We've put away all the stupid wedding books about example vows and Catholic vows and whatever it is. We've got the legal vows. So that's the starting point, because somewhere in the day you need to say, and it doesn't even have to happen in your personal vows. I know for some people, and that's what we do with ours, we had our personal vows and our legal vows separate. Totally okay. But somewhere in the day you need to say, I full name take you full name as my lawfully wedded husband or wife. Well, husband, or if you're a wife, you get the one. So you got a blank page. What do you write down? And this is the part where people trip up because they're afraid of public speaking, or they're not a great writer, or whatever it might be. And that's okay. Rather than talk about what you're not good at, can we at least be proud of what you are good at? Because you've obviously come to a point in life where you've convinced someone to love you, and you've convinced someone to like go on a second and a third and a fifth and 100th date with you. So bravo, you're going good. From here, you've decided to marry them. And the point of marriage is your wedding vows. And that's a personal, intimate moment. So you've got that blank page. What are you going to write down? If I was to simplify the whole process, and if you were to hang up this Google Hangout after this, I think you'd get the gist. Recognize what has been, and that's cool. I wouldn't hover on that, though. Talk about what's happening now, and then throw a vision forward for the future. You see, your wedding day isn't a closing ceremony. It's not the end of a thing. It's the beginning of a thing. It's a opening ceremony to the rest of your life. So, look, recognize what has been. You might notice in my vows, I had a throwback to our first date. I didn't think it was a date. Britt thought it was a date. I split the bill. I'm an idiot. And that was our theme for 5 years, that I was split the bill, Josh. So have a throwback to the past. Don't ignore the past, but don't spend all day there. Move on to the now, because the now is the best part. That's like we're not doing that thing we were anymore. We're doing a new thing. We're now husband and wife, and that's amazing. And what does that mean to you? And why are you doing it? And what commitments are you making because of that? And how will things change because we're now husband and wife? And what new decisions are we going to make? And what new activities we're going to do? And what new things we're going to get excited about? So we recognize the past, talk about the now, we're going to cast our vision forward to the future. And we make some promises and make some commitments moving forward. We might even talk about goals. We might talk about things you hope to achieve, or whatever that might be. But we cast that vision forward, and we say, look, today's great, but let me tell you about tomorrow. Can I tell you about tomorrow? Tomorrow we're going to own a business. Tomorrow we're going to be millionaires. Tomorrow we're going to go on holidays. Tomorrow I'm going to annoy you, because I love annoying you. That's how your vows should roll. A few questions to think about. And all of these are detailed. And I'll tell you again at the end of the Google Hangout how to get them. But if you want to go to marriedbyjosh.com/vows, you can pop your email in there, and I'll send you an email of a bunch of questions to think about when writing your vows. So I'm just referencing a lot of those in this chat. But think about, like, why are you marrying this person? Well, what does that mean? What are some of those things you love about them? What's the annoying thing they do? What's that awesome thing they do? What's that really cute thing they do? What are they given to you? I'm not just talking about gifts. I'm not talking about the necklace or the Nintendo. But I'm talking, like, what are they given to you? How have they made you a better person? How have they improved you? How have they grown you? How are they improving you? And even in the now, how are they impacting your life? Because as much as we talk about marriage being two people becoming one, obviously in a literal sense, that doesn't happen on the day, because there's two people there. So as much as you're together, you're also individuals. And so how are they making you a better person? And recognize that. You should also make sure that you're talking in their love language, and that you're talking in a way that they understand. This isn't a direct example, but I can tell you about Britt and I, that I'm a vocal person, that if you tell me, Josh, I'll be there at 5 p.m., then I'll be waiting at 5 p.m. because I'm you said you would be. If you said it 3 years ago, I'll take you on that word because I heard you say it. Whereas with Brit, and not that she's not a vocal person, because she is, but if you write something down, if you say, I'll be there at 5 p.m., then she'll want you to be there at 5 p.m. because she appreciates the written note or the written word more than the vocal thing. And not that she dishonors the vocal word, but recognize how people communicate and recognize how your partner communicates and what words affect them and what promises affect them. So in our vows, Brit and I talk in promises because we make promises to each other. And when we make a promise, we keep a promise. So our vows are a list of promises because we're all about promises. Now, if you're not about promises, that's okay. But what are you about? And what makes you you? What makes you guys as a couple? What defines you? What makes you special? What makes you unique to every other couple? Celebrate that in your vows. Recognize it. Be proud of it. Be so proud of this amazing thing that you've created and say it in your vows. Because your marriage is a once-in-a-lifetime marriage. Your union is like no other. And your relationship has no parallels. So you can Google for wedding vows and you might find something a little bit appropriate, and that's cool, but it's still not going to suit you exactly because your marriage, your union, your relationship, the two people coming together to form this union, that's so unique that anything you could Google or find in a book won't match because you're you. When it comes to rounding the vows out, I like to come in with a bang and go out with a bang. You might notice at the start of my vows, I said, you'll never know, Britt, how much I love you, and I'll always find a way to communicate that to you, or something like that. I'm not reading them word for word, but you'll never know how much I love you. And it's true, because I don't think she does, or she will. And that's not an indictment on her. That's just because I plan on my love for her being this never-ending, always changing, always growing thing. So that's why I start with that, not because it's not a weakness in her, it's not an inadequacy in her. It's because I hope and pray that our love would be something that you would never know the end of it. That even when you reach the edge, you'd be like, oh, I'm a bit bigger now. I'll grow a bit bigger. Kind of like sailors 200-300 years ago trying to find the edge of the world, and they keep on sailing. Of course, the world's spherical, but I don't know if my love's spherical. We'll leave that for another webinar. But at the end, go out on a bang and leave him or her with those few words that'll resonate in their head. And later on tonight, when they're in bed and they're thinking about that, they'll, can't believe she said that. That's so exciting. That's what I think an amazing vow is, a personally written vow. When people email me saying they want to do traditional vows, I kind of die a little bit inside. Like, not because they want to do that, not because they're terrible people. I'm not going to judge them like that, but because it's such an opportunity to make your wedding instead of someone else's. And I would love to encourage you to make your marriage and make your wedding yours. You almost met Aggie the cat, but she doesn't want to be met tonight. That's kind of what I had planned to say. If you'd please open the chat. I'm going to have a look at the Q&A section and chat section in a second and answer any questions, and just hopefully there's something there. But I would love to implore you to go to marriedbyjosh.com/vows, type your email address in there and click send, and it's going to email you back a bunch of questions and things to think about in your vows, so that when you're exchanging vows, they're your vows, not someone else's. So marriedbyjosh.com/vows. You can just do that now and just send you an email. It's an email responder thing. I've got question and answer open, and thank you for Ashley's with a no. And Annika, where is the chat room? I literally don't know because I've got a different window to you guys, but you know, that's what it is. So there's no other questions there. Please jump in right now if you've got some. I'm sitting here. I'm an open book. I would love to answer any direct questions or whatnot. Maybe I'm just going to go back to my notes to make sure that I've kind of covered everything that I was hoping to cover. Just mainly the vows are the pinnacle of the whole wedding. The only thing that's more important than your vows are your willingness and your consent to the marriage, because obviously that's it. You can't non-willingly enter a marriage. It's illegal, let alone important. Apart from that, Nutella and coffee are pretty big, so they're probably more important than vows. When you send that email, well, when you get that email back from marriedbyjosh.com/vows, it'll tell you about the legal vows, so don't worry, that's all included in that. And quite simply, I'll round it with a dictionary definition of a vow, that it's a solemn promise. It's not a question you're asking, but it's a solemn promise from you to another. Actually asks how long do vows usually go for, which is a great question, and I haven't got the best answer for everyone, so I apologize. But vows should go for as long as they need to, and that's for both ends of the spectrum, as long as as short as they need to be. I always I love the old saying that the most powerful prayer in the world is help, because in that you've said everything that needed to be said. Now, as far as vows, that might not be that single word answer, but if you can communicate that value to the person standing opposite you, if you can communicate that commitment and your understanding of that and your commitment moving forward, if you can recognize the past, the present, and the future, if you can do that in one word, then you're a better person than I. But with that, it doesn't have to be this epically long thing, but it can be, as long as you're doing it out of a spirit of truthfulness and honesty and reality. You're not doing it because you want to flesh it out. Don't flesh anything out. Don't, like, dad doing the speeches will flesh stuff out. Or you don't have to flesh stuff out, because with the day is not to be, it's not a show, it's not a performance. Your wedding ceremony isn't a performance that everyone's coming to watch. It's a moment that people are partaking in. That's probably one of the main reasons I find such of an issue with the chapel layout of wedding ceremonies, because it lends itself to that audience performer feel that we're up here doing something and you're watching and kind of clapping. Bravo, good show. I much rather that an inclusive feel in a wedding ceremony where we can come together and experience something, kind of like we're on a tour through a museum. We're all together. So your vows don't have to be long or short to fill time or anything like that. They just have to be enough to communicate that you think the person opposite you is just the best darned human on the whole planet. Now's your chance to ask any other questions. Or heck, even while I'm sitting here, I can answer questions about celebrancy or weddings or anything. I had a great chat with one of our brides. Britt and I had a great chat today with one of our brides about wedding cake, and I thought, yeah, I've never really thought about wedding cake. I don't understand wedding cake. And hey, if you've got a question about ceremonies, please ask. Or I'd love to talk about traditions or whatnot. Or please just hang up and I'll know that you're done with me. But I'll tell you what the bride told me, at least, because she was Googling wedding cakes. Because I find people that want this moment of wedding cakeness to happen. We're like, all right, the wedding cake. And I never really understood why it was so important to so many people. And the tradition holds that it's the first thing that a couple does as a married couple, and they're providing for each other, which is the basis of the wedding cake, which is cool. Probably doesn't hold the same severity today as it would have done 50 years ago, because many couples that are married today are already providing for each other. They're in a place of mortgage or family or whatnot. So provision of cake is lovely. And I wish Britt would provide more cake to me on a daily basis. FYI, if you're watching, baby. But yeah, I don't know whether that has to be represented in a marriage ceremony. Good question from Annika, actually. Doesn't matter who goes first. No, really. Like, of course, males being the dominant gender, of course they should go first. I joke. Unless a certain person would feel more comfortable going first or second, because that's probably the most important thing to me, that the person exchanging the vows doing it in a comfortable manner. I know Troy and Emma got married recently, and Emma was much more comfortable with Troy going first. And he felt comfortable doing it first. So that's how we got that order. But for couples that are evenly spread on the desire to go first or second, I'll often paper, rock, scissors, because that's just great and fun. Or, there's the traditional aspect of a male going first. And if you directly want to rebel against that, then let the female go first. It's okay. It doesn't matter, because we live in 2015. I don't know if anyone's seen the calendar this year. And we live in an amazing feminist, liberated society where we don't have to stand on a certain side to be married. I know I married a bride and groom recently who they changed sides for a technical reason, and the bride spat the dummy because she's like, I'm not even married, I'm on the wrong side. I'm like, that doesn't really matter, which wasn't the right answer, by the way. Once again, you missed out on meeting Aggie Withers, our cousin, who really doesn't want to be picked up today. So thank you, Annika, for that question. It doesn't matter who goes first. It only matters that the people exchanging the vows are doing it truthfully and honestly, that they're saying words that actually matter to them, and they're saying words that are true and real, and they're not just saying bullshit words that they don't even know what they mean. I know I saw a groom recently. He thought it'd be really awesome to Google some vows, and he found some vows that said, I'll take you as my confidant. But he didn't know what the word confidant means. And I said, why are they in your vows? He goes, well, it's sounding really good. Well, don't do stuff that sounds good. If you don't know what a confidant is, Google it or take the line out. And honestly, rewrite the whole vows because you've obviously just Googled something. So, make a vow that means something to you. Last chance for any questions. Otherwise, I'll first let you guys enjoy your evening because I don't desire to spend all of your night. But last call for questions. Otherwise, you can always email me. My email address is hello@marriedbyjosh.com. You can just contact me via the Facebook page. Just search for Josh Withers, or Twitter @Joshua Withers, or Instagram @Joshua Withers. And yeah, please shoot me questions. If you're looking to be a celebrant, I would love to be a celebrant. And I just got to put another thanks out to all of my friends that shared about this workshop. It was just a little fun thing. I thought it'd be really awesome to do. So thank you for all my friends that shared it. Thank you to White Magazine for jumping on board and partnering with me to do it. And look, if you guys have more ideas on things you'd love me or other people to do webinars about, let me know or let White Magazine know. I'm sure we're always keen to chat. I know the reason I'm doing this is because I'd rather help rather than hype. And if I can help one person, then my day is better. So thank you for the opportunity to help you tonight. And I hope you guys had a great night. Thank you. Oh, hang on. One last question from Darren. Is there a standard process for the whole ceremony, or is it depending on preference? I'm not really sure how the start to end works. Darren, if you've hired a great celebrant, they'll look after it. You just work on falling in love, finding a wife or groom, and making some awesome vows. An amazing celebrant and wedding planner and whatnot that will come around you and create a great ceremony. So don't get held up on things that aren't important. The ceremony is important, but hiring a good celebrant that gets you and understands you and knows how to celebrate your marriage is more important than focusing on the words. Find a celebrant that gets you, and they'll create a great ceremony around you. Oh, and the questions pour in. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah asks, any idea to write vows when you've already been together 15 years? Actually, Sarah, that's a really good question. And I think I kind of answered it in what I was saying about recognize where you have been. But that wedding ceremony is a point where you're saying, look, yesterday was good. What we are acknowledging yesterday was good. And we're saying today's amazing, but we're casting our vision forward. So because that's why you're getting married. You're not celebrating what has been. You're celebrating what's yet to come. So make your vows around that. Celebrate what's yet to come, and make sure that you're focusing forwards. You're celebrating what has been, but you're saying we're getting married today because we want the future to be bigger and better. And Sarah, another question. How do I start from I'm not a lovey-dovey type of guy? Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So being lovey-dovey doesn't really, you might notice I haven't talked about romance and using awesome words, Sarah. Or was it Sarah? I apologize if it's Sarah. As I was saying, you want to use words that are true to you. So if you're not a lovey-dovey person, you're not going to talk about lovey-dovey things. Just use actual language, words you would actually use over the kitchen table when you're having a conversation, words that are real to you and mean something to you, because it's not a show. You're not quoting Shakespeare. You're making your vow. That's you making a vow to you, and they should mean something. So you make a true and a real vow. Don't make BS vows. I've already done the plug. I don't want to spend the whole day plugging, but please shoot me questions or have a chat if you want to have a Skype. I love to Skype. My name is and has been Josh Withers. I've had a really good time doing this evening. It's a ball. And I can't believe it's 9:15 already. Oh my God. Please send me a million things on email, Facebook, whatever it is, and we'll chat real soon. Thank you so much.